Espen, still project coordinator for the city of Leuven. Welcome back. And I see you have the remote in your hand. That's good news. So, well, ladies and gentlemen, let's get started. Matthieu, do you hear us?
I can hear you perfectly.
Wonderful, and I'm sure we're going to see you very briefly. So the floor is yours, and we are really curious to hear what you have to tell us.
Good afternoon. Thanks for the introduction. Indeed, I work as a contact point for the region of Flanders in Belgium. So my job is mainly to develop projects and to get them into an Interreg-proof proposal. Thanks for all the exchanges and insights in what you have developed during the project Sharepair this morning. And I have some good news for you. There's some more fresh money in store for the coming programming period. So we are open for new project ideas. I have prepared a small presentation on what the funding opportunities are in Interreg Northwest Europe. Do I have to share it myself, or will it be shared by the...
I think you have to. Yeah, you are the one. Oh, we do. I couldn't understand your... We do. Okay, so it's Lieve who is going to turn the pages. So it's coming, it's coming.
Okay.
There it is. Is that your first slide?
There's one before.
Okay, let's go back for one. Is this right?
Yeah, that's the first one. Okay, you go to the next. Yeah. So there are some changes in the new programming period on content-wise. The first big change is, of course, the grey spot that the UK leaves behind in terms of program area, which means basically that it is no longer possible to do projects with British partners. They can still be an associated partner in the program, meaning that they don't have a budget, but that they receive some travels from other partners, for example, and that they are in there to help you forward with their knowledge, but in a less formal, less active way. They could also help you in dissemination and so on. But formally, the UK is no longer part of the program area. The other member states which we had in the past, like the upper half of France, the left side of Germany, the Benelux and Ireland are all still on board. And we even have added some new areas, mainly 3 provinces in the north of the Netherlands, which means that the total territory of the Netherlands is now in the program area. And then there are also 3 territories in the north of Germany, the city of Bremen, Osnabrück, and then the region around Hanover. So that's for the program area. Next slide, please. Content-wise, we have also some changes in Northwest Europe. We have, in total, the architecture of the new program was constructed of 5 priorities and underneath 9 specific objectives. For those acquainted with Interreg, know already that you have to pick one single specific objective to put your project underneath, and you also take indicators linked to that specific objective. What do we have in store now? In terms of priorities, we have like a green block now. And so the first 3 priorities are really green priorities. And this has, of course, to do with the European Green Deal that has been constructed at EU level, which then trickles down to all the subsidy programs in which the EU puts its money. Priority 1, basically, is a priority on climate adaptation with 2 priorities. The first one being on water management, so everything that has to do with water infiltration, excess of water, heavy rainfall, shortage of water in the summer now, everything that has to do with climate change, water quality, water quantity and availability, all these kind of things, topics could be tackled in projects underneath this specific objective. And then there's underneath priority 1, there's another one, that's another specific objective, and that's the one on biodiversity and pollution, where we want to have projects tackling things like air pollution, heat stress, biodiversity, green-blue network, and better framing of landscapes and connecting landscapes to serve ecosystem services and biodiversity. That's for priority 1. Priority 2 is all about energy, and we have constructed it down into 2 specific objectives. The first one being energy efficiency. Think about things like heat networks, but also about better insulation for building different ways of heating buildings and neighborhoods and so on. And then there's also the other priority or specific objective, excuse me, which is on renewable energies and everything that has to do with the implementation and the promotion of renewable energies. The energy source doesn't matter here as long as it is renewable. And then there is priority 3, the last one of this green block, which is on circular economy. We also had a similar priority in the former programming period. And this one is really about creating place-based value chains, about setting up new models for circular economy, which you are doing also for with Sharepair. So this is really something that has been even more to the front than we had it 7 years ago. Next slide, please. Then there's the 4th priority, which is innovation and resilience. This priority is different from what we had in the past. In the past, we had more like a priority focused mainly on technological innovations. TRL levels, research and development were quite important there. We have had a lot of projects on that. Now the focus has shifted a little. So it's basically about innovation and resilience now. So it's about creating the good framework to make innovation possible, like creating clusters, getting knowledge to companies to make them innovate and so on. Putting up a framework, not really putting up a specific technology or a specific service, but really make the link with societal challenges and a broader perspective from a business and economic perspective. Then there's priority 5, inclusive society, which is a total priority for Interreg Northwest Europe. And this is also split out in 3 specific objectives. The first one being on labor market, meaning new models to train people better, targeting vulnerable people, for example, that are on the verge of losing their job or that are not in employment or not in education for the moment, migrants, specific vulnerable target group, and create a system, a model to train them towards the labor market. And then there is also the specific objective on health and care. So it's about making healthcare more accessible. Think about rural areas, think about deprived neighborhoods in cities where there's, for example, a lack of healthcare. What could telemedicine do to help this? What kind of new models do we need? Is there a new role for other players in the care sector and so on? Things like that. Try to be innovative and to find something. And then there's also the last, which is the tourism priority. There we go for inclusive tourism, ecotourism, so really about new models to develop projects that aim for example, hidden gems, places that aren't really well developed for the moment, which could use some help. Also to make tourism more sustainable, to decrease a bit the pressure on other places that are face a lot of demand in terms of tourism. So projects that tackle this topic are welcome under this specific objective. Next slide. The partnership then. In the past, we often talked about triple helix partnerships. Now we add a 4th player to it. So we had triple helix was mainly about governments working together with knowledge institutes, universities, for example, with companies or cluster organizations that represent the business world. Now we also add to that a clear demand for NGOs, more societal players, non-profit sector, things like that. Try to make a partnership that really tackles the quadruple here. It will make your proposal much stronger. We also search for transnational added value. That's not a change from the past. It's clear that you need to make your case about why you need to work together as a partnership. Why do you need each other? Is there one who is more experienced in a certain model or a certain topic that you tackle? And can he then put the others up with his knowledge and make sure that they develop something together which can be served or which can be implemented in all the regions of the Northwest Europe area. And that's the logic you need to reflect in your partnership as well. We have a minimum of 3 countries from the program area that need to be present in your partnership. So 3 EU member states, and also a minimum of 3 partners. It could be for a classic project that you have many more partners, like Sharepair also had, but 3 is the absolute minimum. A mix of public and private partners is very welcome. Private partners, meaning companies, can't be a lead partner. So that's only for knowledge institutes, governments, public authorities, and non-profit organizations. And then there's also the possibility of associated partners. I've mentioned it already when speaking about the British, which can still contribute under this capacity, but it's also open for a lot of other organizations which can help you with their network to disseminate, for example, your project results. Next slide. The budget then, I'm not going to explain this one in detail, but what you see is that the bulk of the budget has been put on the 3 green priorities. So it's a bit a change from the past where we had the bulk on innovation. So the budget has been allocated to every specific objective. That means that this is the budget available for projects under this specific objective. And when the budget is depleted, then practically there won't be a call anymore on that specific objective for projects under this topic. But the good news for you is that we have 310 million euros in store for the coming 7 periods. We are now at call 3 and we still have all specific objectives open. So no closed priorities or specific objectives yet. And then on the financing rates, the funding we give, that's still 60%, which hasn't changed from the past. Next slide. We face 3 types of actions which we want to see in projects. So this is how you need to structure your project. Either you work about strategies and action plans, meaning policy-based, getting new scientific insights into policy, for example, and working with the government players around that. The second option is to structure your project more about pilot actions, demos, tests, investments, also support programs like helping companies or other organizations, perhaps in non-profit sector or public authorities with the gathering of knowledge and giving them the tools to implement the models that you develop, for example. These are all things that are possible. And the third type of action is awareness raising and capacity building, meaning training, knowledge transfer, and so on. For a good classic Interreg project, you need at least 2 types of actions. If you have only one, then there is no chance of getting approved. So 2 is the minimum here. What we won't fund is research projects. For those that are acquainted with the TRL levels, we are really working in real environments now. So TRL 6, 7, and from there on, really high TRL levels. We don't fund large-scale investments in infrastructure, but we do fund small-scale investments. Also, the scale-up of results are really about the implementation. That's something which we like to see. And as always, you need to have a sustainable impact on the program area, meaning that what you deliver should also be self-sustaining afterwards, should be disseminated more broadly, should be taken up by other organizations. So you really have a moral duty there towards Interreg. Next slide. I just explained the types of actions which you can have in a project, but we also have 2 types of projects these days, and that's new too. The first 2 calls we had, which are now closed, were about classic projects, and those are the big projects. Partners, the number of partners you see here are regularly 10, although there is a minimum of 3. The duration was often about 3 to 5 years when I look at the implementation period we had. Total budget was several millions, like 3 to 5 million euros often. The procedure is a 2-step procedure. When you get the green light in step 1, then you can go to step 2. And for the administration, there's the choice between working with staff cost and a flat rate of 40%, for which you don't have to prove anything, or you can still go for the classic 6 budget lines. Mostly the second option would be for projects with a lot of external expertise costs or investment costs or equipment costs, and that don't have enough staff costs to cover everything with the 40% flat rate. Investments are also possible in classic projects, and then there is also 50,000 euros total costs, which can be paid if your project gets approved as preparation costs for the work done and to be distributed among the project partners. The one that works the hardest gets usually the most, but that's to decide among the partners themselves. Unfortunately, there's no call until the end of 2023 for the classic projects, but the good news is that we have a totally new strand of projects available now, and that is the small scale projects. The number of partners you should put forward here are a minimum of 3, and here a minimum of 3 will be realistic. So it's really about a smaller scale of partnership, but you also need to have a minimum 3 countries on board. That's the same as for a classical project. The total budget is also restricted. The minimum is 200,000 euros and the maximum 800,000 euros. And the procedure will be simpler too. It's only a one-step procedure, and you will have only one work package in your project, meaning that you also need to select one output type instead of 2. Staff costs and flat rate 40% are the only way to administrate your project. So you have only this choice of working. So that's a simplification too. And we don't allow for investments in small scale projects. And then in terms of preparation costs, of course, this amount is also a bit lower. It's about 6,000 euro total costs, which could be distributed among the partners for the preparation when your project gets approved. There's a call open now, and it will close on the 12th of July. So if you have good ideas, make sure to get in touch with your contact points nationally and get some advice on how to get your project straight. Next slide. This is a slide on the launch we had for the new the third call for small-scale projects. I've put it in here because there is a nice recording made of the online webinar that we've put there. So if you are interested, then go to the hyperlink here and you can watch it all over again. You'll get first-hand knowledge on how to develop a project in a more elaborate way than I can explain here. Next slide. If you seek for other information on Northwest Europe, being the program manual with the technical and administrative rules, meaning the cooperation program with a description of all the priorities and specific objectives and types of projects, the terms of reference for calls and so on, the call calendar, the contact points and JS contact details, all is to be found here through this hyperlink on the website of Interreg Northwest Europe. Next slide. And there is, of course, a hyperlink for the contact points. I have a colleague in every member state which can help you. And also, I warmly recommend you to take a look to the applicant community. It's a newly developed tool online. And we have, at this point, we have 867 organizations which are registered as interested organizations to develop a project, so open for business basically. So if you are one of those that didn't register yet, put your business card there under the tab interested organizations, then you are very visible. You can be contacted directly from other project partners. And there's also another tab on which you can put your project idea looking for partners. So it's a really nice tool. We clean it up after every call. So the 3 ideas you see here, that's a screenshot I took the day before yesterday. And these are ideas for the new small scale call. Take a look, they are sorted out by priority. So it might be a good way to find your partnership. Next slide. Then I give the word to Lieve, who also had some ideas for spin-offs. So ideas for the future are already guaranteed, I see.
Thank you, Matthias.
Yeah, thank you, Matthias. And it's not necessarily me having these ideas, but I just wanted to highlight a few of the projects to show that the work isn't finished yet on
Okay.
repair. Yeah. So some of these, the 2 first projects are already underway. There's one, the Internet of Washing Machines, and they're all projects run by our partners, yeah, focusing on how to make repair more affordable by looking at data collected remotely on the operation of washing machines. Then we have a repair first, herstel eerst project that started last week. Yes. And yeah, sorry, there's a little mistake in the slide here, because basically they're not focusing only on digital tools, but digital tools as a way of supporting them while setting up a network across Flanders of easy access points for repair in collaboration with other stakeholders such as social economy, second-hand shops, professional retailers, etc. We've always listed the partners for these projects, so if you're interested about finding out more, you know where to find them. And then, just very briefly, 2 more projects that haven't started yet, and they're actually applying for funding with Interreg, so I hope Matthieu is still listening very closely. First one is the E6 project, and they're looking at how to establish first-line infrastructure to make repair more accessible for citizens as well. And citizens would be able to go there for a diagnosis with their broken devices and small repairs if that's possible on site. You have contact persons listed here, and then finally another one of our partners, or no, 2 of our partners are submitting a project application that's called Make Repair, where they want to focus on youngsters and repair. Yeah, so developing work practices to encourage them to take up repair and also to teach them repair skills.
Thank you.
Leave it at that.
Thanks a lot, Lieve. And of course, if you are interested in any of those projects, don't hesitate to go to Lieve during the break later on to talk about it.